Very well, welcome back. On the second hour, as I had mentioned earlier, is that we are talking about facilitating trade in many spheres, in tech specifically, and also in logistics. And joining me in studio, beginning from my immediate left, is Daisy Odhiambo, who is the Business Development Manager at CertiFreight Supply Chain Solutions. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We haven't seen each other.
Yeah.
It's only a month to
I know.
2026.
Yes.
And also somebody else that I haven't seen this year is Dr. Matunga, who is the President and CEO, Africa Center for Advanced Technology. Karibu sana, Doc.
Truth be told, we haven't met for over 3 years.
Are you
the
serious?
last time you hosted me was... But you're still young, so that's
Yes.
okay. That's what matters. You're still Gen G.
Still young, I'm in my mid-40s. But anyway, that's good. But the last time we were with you, we were talking about the late Magoha, I do remember. And I also saw you here talking about the late Raila Amolo Odinga, who the two of them, you had an opportunity to work
I'm not
with
here to talk about any late person
but
today.
I wanted us to clear the air, that,
Okay.
because that's the last time that we were talking about.
Yes.
But before we went for that break, Daisy, something caught your eye in the Kenya National Accreditation Services.
True.
I will be very honest as a journalist. This is the first convention that they are holding in Mombasa. And yesterday was the first time I heard about Kenya National Accreditation Services. I've heard about KEBS and others, KNBS. I've heard of them, but I never heard about them on product conformity. Maybe you can just mention something you know about them in 1 minute.
So the Kenya National Accreditation Services, to put it in a layman's language, is the boss of KEBS, I could say that. So their work is to check all these other people who claim to be checking the standards. Are they doing the right thing? So all these other people include labs. So say you're taking your sample to whichever lab, they have to have been checked by Kenya National Accreditation Services to confirm that they can actually do these tests. That is their work. Of course, there's also the other part of the conformity assessment part, where they are working with people like the certification bodies. We are talking about ISO 9001 certifications. I'm sure that one you know of. And there's ISO 14001 for the environment. So they are there to check that these people who claim to be issuing these services are qualified to do that. Yes, that's it.
I think that will help us, together with my director, Jackie Wasolo. We were in darkness, complete darkness yesterday, but
Yes,
she's talking to me here. She's laughing that at least now we can understand what exactly the convention is all about. And Doc, looking at now digitization, the last... I do a lot of research. That's something that I really love. And the last I saw you on social media, you are doing an interesting piece with a former colleague of mine, Jagelo, where you were talking about from Fangano to Microsoft, more or less technology. So every business will digitize in one way or the other, and especially MSMEs. I'm seeing MSMEs ensuring that they're also digitizing in one way or the other. Even the Pochi la Biashara is one way of digitizing a biz. So what tangible low-cost initiatives are in place to ensure small-scale traders can effectively access and benefit from the digital platforms?
So let me start with the bad news. The bad news is part of what you just mentioned, that nearly everyone, every service, every activity will actually have to benefit from the digital platform. And so if you're not there, you're going to be left out. And it's a bit too late now, especially when we're dealing with the issues of the new phenomena that everybody's talking about, new phenomena in tech industry. That's the artificial intelligence. And so it's going to require that nearly everyone, I don't think that even KEBS has come up with the standards, or Kenya National Qualification Accreditation. I don't think they even know what that is now, but that's a new phenomenon. So regardless of the size of your business, whether you're just basically an entrepreneur, whether you're a mama mboga or a boda, that's coming into play, and it's going to transform and change the way we do business. So digitization is actually coming in a new way that will be very, very, very interesting. And so that's the bad news that I'm basically bringing today. But the good news is that you don't have to do much, partly because artificial intelligence, as a technology itself, gets to do all that for you. And Troy, this is not to scare you that artificial intelligence is going to take your job. Artificial intelligence will not take your job. Artificial intelligence will enhance your productivity, will make you do your job better. And the reality is that we're going to get to a point whereby nearly every single human being on the planet is going to get a clone, a digital clone of themselves. I know it sounds like you're looking like me, looking at me like I'm talking.
Yeah.
It's going to be very soon. People who are in specialized areas like Daisy will find it very easy to actually, duplicate themselves and come up with an AI agent that can actually do exactly what she's able to do with her voice, with her demeanor, with a lot of data from her. And she can be sleeping a few more hours because actually her agent will be doing the work. We need Troy because Troy has some special skills, some special demeanor. And what's going to happen with artificial intelligence, it basically just take your voice, take your data, take your image, take your everything. And actually, you can be creating shows, and KBC can be creating shows of Troy and be able to actually post, even if they're not running anything here. So it's not going to replace you because Troy is Troy. There can never be any other Troy except a copy image of that extract from artificial intelligence. The same is going to apply to business. Small, micro size business will also find it a lot easier to actually now create what we would have considered as a website these days, or a Facebook account or whatever. All that's going to be generated using artificial intelligence. And our Mamboga can actually generate her own agent, and that agent can actually do her work, promote or market her business or his business across the entire globe, across the country. She can decide that, hey, I want to just be talking to business or Mboga buyers from Busia or from the locality, and that agent will actually be able to give you a number that you can always call. You call that number, your Mboga is delivered. Or she takes orders from you. She knows that by the time she's waking up to actually go to the market, there's these many orders that I now have. I have to buy these many orders plus my chance customers, and then she will be able to actually do that from her phone. And her agent, her AI agent, can do that for her while she's still worrying about the kids go to school, whatever. Assisting lazy husbands like you to actually get to work, get dressed well. Her agent will actually be doing that. So I'm a bearer of bad news in the sense that technology is taking over, and digitization, like the way you framed your question, is actually the way to go. But the good news is that it's going to actually create an ease of doing business, ease of trading, ease of growing, marketing, running, and growing your businesses. It also makes available services across the planet even more affordably. And the unfortunate thing is that technology has no reverse gear.
So Mama Mbogas and the border guys really need to also step up if you're in this industry as well, because we have also the border apps that were not there 5-10 years ago. But Daisy, I'm looking at, despite improvement, you're in logistics, and I'm looking at, despite improvement to Mombasa Port, there's still concerns regarding system downtime, delays in transport. What is the immediate plan? What would be the immediate plan to clear these physical and digital setbacks? So,
if we look at where we've come from, compared to where we are right now, there's a lot of improvement. I mean, there was a time when we're joining the industry, I think that's when the 24 hours clearance was being done, and things like pre-arrival clearance were were unheard of. I mean, right now where we are and where we are going, we are really embracing the pre-arrival clearance. We are using technology again, and the information that we have, the data that we have, you're able to clear, for example, if your vessel is still oncoming, you can just present all the papers and ensure that your paperwork is done, and by the time the vessel docks, your goods are ready to leave. So that's what we are really working towards, and there has been great improvement. Of course, there's system downtime. The system downtime, people say it's manufactured, people say it's not supposed to be like that. It only happens at the end of the month, but there's still great progress, and even where we are going is, I foresee a time when it's going to be plug and play. So it's just going to be a flow, and now that we are including a lot of developments in IT, there won't be a lot of human interaction. Doesn't mean that all those people are going to lose their jobs. It's just that now they're going to work better. Yes, so that's where we are.
And in comparison, Kenya and the Dar es Salaam port, how are we doing in regards to that? Are we far much better? Are we far much advanced? Because at the end of the day, if they are better services, and then somebody might opt to be bringing his or her own cargo through Dar es Salaam.
Through Dar es Salaam. So I wouldn't want to compare on who's better. I would want to look at it like we are complementing each other, because just recently there were issues in Tanzania we saw, but so the cargo was being diverted to Kenya. So there was some delay, of course, with the port operations in Kenya, but that means then that we are able to work together, and it's not that we are competing and saying Kenya is better and the work in Kenya is more efficient. But if we look at it holistically, we are good at complementing each other, as opposed to really just competing on who's doing better than the other. Yes, because even now, probably the port in Kenya is still handling some consignments that were supposed to go to Dar es Salaam, but have been rerouted because of the political issues that were there.
In Tanzania.
Yeah, true.
Mark, you have been an IT specialist for years, and I'm looking at single most critical policy gap that prevents Kenya's advancement into tech infrastructure for even small businesses and even big businesses.
So define years. 30 years? Is that a long time?
That's a long time.
Yeah, I've been around in this space for about 30 years. I'm 51 now, so you can imagine when I actually entered the industry. But even before I get to that, for me, policy is an outcome of a political situation. You know, earlier on we said that this is business conversation, nothing to do with politics. But that has to come in, because Daisy has said something. Why have we rerouted some of the cargo through Mombasa?
From Dar es Salaam to Mombasa.
Yeah, why have we rerouted that?
Political instability in Tanzania.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's crucial, because if the political manners is not handled well, it impacts everything, even before you get to policy. You just had the careless, let me call it careless comment from the neighboring president, who said, hey, you know, we're a landlocked country. You're talking of the Indian Ocean. We also deserve to actually have part of that Indian Ocean. That is going to actually be the next issue that as a country we'll be dealing with. Because, you know, even on social media now, people have started throwing messages that, hey, Ugandan military are in Busia, Daisy's home. I just saw that now. That already brings a lot of anxiety, even in the business, creates a lot of instability. So even before you get to the policy situation, then that becomes a problem. But to answer your question, in the IT industry, you know, there's this AFCFTA, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, that is supposed to create, you know, borderless ways of actually doing business, the movement of goods and services. That has been around for how many years now? Almost 7 years or something like that. But really, really nothing is happening, because yes, you can go to, when you push your goods to Uganda, they're still going to have to attract some restrictions. Goods come from Uganda to Kenya, they're still going to... So when you're talking of policy, then that level playing ground need to be open. When you're in a place like North America today, you hear, and you don't have to be in North America, anywhere in the world, today you hear tariffs. When you hear the word tariffs, you know that there's another name behind that, and that is Trump. And that impacts anything and everything. It impacts the cost of goods and services. It impacts what Kenya is actually able to export, import, whatever, and all of that kind of stuff. That is a political scenario that is impacting business. And so it doesn't matter even what policies you have. I mean, Kenya today has allowed visa-free movement of people. All African countries, you can actually come here without a visa. But are we allowed to go to any other country without a visa? Not yet. So again, that impacts business, because I might want to actually go and offer my IT services in Ghana or in another country, but I will still require business permit, I will still require visas, I'll still require all sorts of accreditations, like Daisy says, to actually be able to do business there. We just had a scenario in Tanzania, that is even before the elections, whereby the president there also made some comments and said, we're not accepting any, if you're from Kenya and you're trying to do this, don't do it in Tanzania.
No, yes, the reserved jobs for the Tanzanians.
Yes, so as an IT service provider, then what do I do? Because part of my products are largely on the cloud or in the cloud. Safaricom now boasts as one of the, and we are proud of what Safaricom has grown to be, 50 million users. You know, we're counting 50 million users. Why? Because of Ethiopia. If we didn't get into Ethiopia, I mean, because Kenya, we are what, 55 going to 60 million people? So, I mean, but remember, we also, their adults are only about maybe 15, 20 million. So you really can't have that many subscribers unless you actually cross the border and go to another country. But Safaricom these days posts quite, significant amount of profit. It's a very profitable company. Why? Because it's able to actually extend to other countries. So we're not walking the talk, partly because politics is not in tandem with trade, which actually impacts policy.
Daisy, still on the same, we'll be looking at visa-free, we'll also be looking at tariffs as well, how they do affect, because right now every country is holding their breath. US might decide to put some more barriers and some more tariffs as well. But let's come back to Kenya. Allow me to read this. The Kenya Bureau of Standard has invited manufacturers to submit feedback on a proposed 0.2% levy on all locally manufactured goods following the gazettement of the standardization to 2025 something.
Yeah.
How is it likely to affect business, and especially for those people who want to get into manufacturing? Because it's not only affecting those who are already in manufacturing, but it's affect those who want to venture into manufacturing.
Okay, so I think to understand why this is coming, we need to approach it from the I'd say the end user. Okay, so the end user being the consumer. Right, so we want, for example, this water, and we want flavored water. Okay, we want the company that is manufacturing water to give us flavored water. And this water, you went to the US and then you tasted it and you want this exact water, right? So you come up and you're like, okay, let's try and do this water and see how, let's manufacture this water. Then you realize you need to get a permit. You need to get a permit, you need to get an approval, you need to get all these things. And the people, for example, the standards people are the ones who are giving you these approvals. And then you would be like, but no, that's not fair because I'm trying to do legit business. They are saying my water is not good enough, and the same, we complain like that. So what they are saying is, okay, for us to avoid to not lock out your customer who wants this specific flavored water that they tasted in the US and it was good, what are we going to do? We are going to ask you manufacturers to help us develop these standards. I sound like I'm marketing for them. I'm not. I'm explaining why this has to happen. We are largely an importing country. So for us to move to be able to be a manufacturer, we have to develop what are the protocols that are required for you to make a very nice flavored water that you tasted in the US. Something else that has come recently, because we are very health conscious now, is people are using tallow, the tallow for beef, mafuta ya ng'ombe. So there are so many uses of tallow. Actually, you can use it in the cosmetic industry. So I saw this online and I want to try it in the country. So I mean, there's beef, I get the butcher and they give me the raw material, which is tallow, beef tallow. So I want to now sell it to the supermarket. Then you realize I cannot sell this product because it has to be regulated. Okay, is it regulated? No, it's not. Are the regulations there? No, they are not. So how are we going to develop these regulations? How are we going to be a manufacturing country if we don't have the regulations? And that's where this whole issue is coming about. The same thing, same principle would apply to the ban on importation of furniture. Yeah. Okay. The spirit of the ban is really good because we are trying to protect our local industries and we want everybody to have jobs. So what happens to these people who import furniture? Are they going to just shut down? And are we saying that we now suddenly have the capacity to manufacture all types of furniture and now suddenly yesterday we didn't have it and then today we have it? So for it to happen again, we have to develop policy, we have to have the systems in place, and unfortunately, someone has to pay the price, and in this case, then it's going to be the manufacturer. Yeah.
But it's going to pass the cost
to the end user. Yes.
The common mwananchi.
Exactly. And then the end user is still going to say, but we are not even moving as a country. We are trying to be like Singapore, and we are not being like Singapore. Yeah. But at some point, I think policy development, even though you engage everybody else, at some point it has to be pushed down your throat for it to work.
But this is going to bring the cost of even essential products to higher, make them higher.
Yes. So let's say the 0.2, the levy and all this, there's even the other one for extended producer responsibility. So even that one, say everything else comes and the cost of the product goes high. And then 10 years from now, like what we are doing now is we are saying, but into the year 2000 and whatever, when the importation of motorbikes was now made easier for people, it now encouraged people, it gave people jobs. But now when it was happening, everybody was still complaining. So we will still complain, but I think policy has to be pushed down people's throats at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, let's wait and hear, because KEBS had already sent out more or less like emissaries to just test the waters and see whether that, but that will definitely bring the cost of essential commodities up. I'm looking at Kenya being the regional hub, IT hub. And in Africa, we rank quite highly. But how do we balance the need for cross-border data flows for efficient trade with growing concerns about data protection and security? You do remember after the signing of the data bill to law, it brought about a lot of traction in the country. Mark.
The story of data will remain a mystery to many and for a long time. Because, Troy, you have a Gmail account.
Yes.
From where you sit, you can send me an email right now.
Yeah.
Do you think that email will just come from your phone to my phone?
No.
What will happen?
We'll go to some servers and then they transfer it back to your phone.
Exactly. A lot of us post things on on Facebook, where does Facebook sit?
Meta in US.
You know, so the mystery around the data will never be answered in our lifetime. And the cross-border conversation will not. I mean, I think we're just talking about data just because, you know, it's a sexy thing to talk about, and we talk about data sovereignty and all of that kind of stuff, because even a lot of these regulators, nearly all of these regulators, they use these platforms to actually communicate. They use WhatsApp, they use Gmail, they use other emails.
Every small business now is even on Facebook, on Twitter.
Exactly. Yeah. So even the conversation of cross-border, because at what point do you know that, okay, fine, now this data is now crossing this border and going to another country? So for me, it's I don't know whether I would say it's a misnomer or an oxymoron to actually keep talking about, data from this country to that country. The only thing that actually should be happening around the data conversation when it comes to really the speed and availability of that information, of that service, which actually would make sense, not beyond the conversation, not the conversation about the data sovereignty, but it's about speed. So then it makes sense that actually we have a data center that sits here in Kenya, so that if I want to actually access certain information, I can get it. I don't have to actually go to the cloud to another country that will take time for actually this prompt to hit all those data centers or hit all those servers and actually come to me. Then it then becomes easier because we are here. I'm using the infrastructure that sits in Kenya. Then it becomes easier and quicker, of course, much faster to actually access that data. But until we understand that we live in a technological global village, this debate about data, and I can say it with sufficient authority that even if you're a data protection officer, you're basically just earning money, not doing really much, because a lot of our data we have already posted there. The moment you are, and this from a technical perspective, the moment you are accessing the internet, you've already opened up yourself to the whole world. At that point, your data is not even sitting in your country. At that point, your data is sitting elsewhere.
That would pose a major challenge because a number of Kenyans even own businesses, including yourself. I'm quite sure you have a branch outside the country.
It doesn't matter where my business is. I do quite a bit of work in New York. But the moment I get online, that very moment, my data is not sitting with me. We would like to appear like, hey, yes, my data sits in Kenya, whatever, it's covered by the laws of Kenya, but it's just for feel good, because the major internet servers are not sitting in Kenya. By the time you send me an email, I can tell you that email, from where you're sitting to where I'm sitting, that email will touch at least 7 servers before it gets to me. It can get here in like 1 second, but it shall have touched 7 servers. And you need to remember that actually the email that I'm finally receiving is a copy of the original email that you drafted. What does that mean? It then also means that email actually there are 7 copies of that email in the 7 servers that are not sitting here with me or with you in Kenya, which is why in cybersecurity we talk about forensics audit. So you can delete the email. You can tell me, hey, Mark, delete that email. I don't want that email to appear. But when there's need to actually do a forensics audit, we will still find that email. Remember, you have deleted it from your device. I've also deleted it from my device. But I remember I told you that it has touched about 7 servers. That therefore means that if we actually go in to do what we call forensic audit, that is how that email will feature. But he said, no, but Mark deleted it and I deleted it. That's fine. It's only that the moment you actually sent that email, it touched several servers. And the moment it touches that server, the instruction to that server is, hey, send a copy of this to the next server and send it to the next server and back to Kenya for Mark Matunga to actually receive it on his device and be able to actually read it from that point. So the conversation around data and data sovereignty and issues of trade, data flow, and all of that really can never come up as something that actually stifles business or stifles trade. Because, you know, and a lot of these platforms from where we buy things, I'm fairly very lazy on that. So even yesterday I ordered for some lunch through a friend, let me say an assistant. She bought that lunch, I don't know from which company, I mean from which restaurant. But that information alone, we are in the same office. She's buying lunch from a restaurant and it's being ordered and being delivered here, coming by Uber, which doesn't sit here in Kenya. So Uber already knows that there's a Mark Matunga or there's so-and-so, a Daisy who has ordered this chicken from this place, it's being delivered there. Where is that data sitting? But what did I benefit? No, I mean, within 15 minutes, I actually had my lunch. But the data trail of actually having that lunch basically went to I don't know how many countries before, and that information is already out there.
It's going to pose a big challenge, at least for now, and especially for developing countries like us, to ensure that even our data, both in business and also in personal life, is protected as well.
It is protected in a fancy way in our mind, because that data is already out there. I mean, that is why I'm being a pessimist here in the conversation around data.
Okay.
We're just talking about data because we want to feel good that our data is protected. But the moment you actually go online, you're naked before the world.
All right.
That's just the reality.
Daisy, I'm looking at the visa-free policy that Kenya now has adopted, and many say that, of course, it can enhance business and trade. And of course, on the other side, we might hear issues of cyber crime that we have seen, especially from the eastern side of Asia, or even drugs and stuff. How can visa-free policy ensure that we do business and do business alone?
So it's interesting on the access. So the visa-free policy, we say then it brings in the labor force, right? So it brings in other people who are talented. And so we have new, bigger companies. We have this bank, is it JP Morgan? I think they're setting up, or they're set up in the country. And all these big people, Microsoft and Google and whatever. And of course, they're able to come and it's visa-free, and you come and you work here in Kenya. At the same time, I think I saw this last week, that there is a multinational should hire 60% locals, something like that. I need to confirm. So is it visa-free to this extent, or is it visa-free only for when they're trying to come to Masai Mara and, you know, all that? Still, it's a good thing because the market continues to grow. It's good to have a big market and for consumers to also access all these new products and everything. So when we have new people coming into the market grows. We have a new branch of KFC. We have China Square coming in, and so it's still good for business, because you have extended now your customer base. But is it visa free to? Okay, it's visa free to what extent? I think that's the question, because on this side there's visa free, then on this side your expatriates can only be 60%. Then on the other side, UN is moving its offices to Nairobi. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how it's going to work. Yeah.
But Mark, still on the same Africa Continental Free Trade Area, we also have the COMESA. But unfortunately, tariffs are also making doing business a little bit difficult. how can we eradicate these tariff barriers? We have the East Africa community. We don't do each and every trade that we are supposed to do. There are some things that have tariffs, others don't. COMESA, we have Africa Continental Free Trade Area. How can we ensure that we totally benefit from these institutions as a region, just like the way we have benefited as an East Africa community?
Well, for me, the word tariff is just another word for tax. So, I mean, at international level, we call them tariffs, but really, in my view, those are taxes. And it depends on each and every country's flavor. Again, their policies, trade policies and all of that, that are not necessarily common across all borders. So each country has its ways of actually imposing taxes, international taxes, and that's what we call tariffs. That one protects their economy, protects their country, but two helps grow their economy. In other words, if they can actually be able to extract more value from their goods and services that are actually crossing borders. I don't think that, again, it's not a question that we're going to be able to actually fully answer and appreciate, because every single country still wants to actually be able to extract a lot more value from these goods and services that they actually offer. And the sufferer here will end up being the consumer, because tariffs are not going to go away, not on everything. Even when we're talking, like Daisy was saying, when we're talking about visa-free, visa-free, again, might mean different things to different people, because you still actually have to pay for the visa. Or all I think that is being said is that you're allowed to, you will not be denied the visa. You pay for it. I think it's called, is it ETA or something? You still pay for it, one way or the other. But that is just to encourage at least more tourism, more trade for us as a country, because that means that there'll be more people coming, given that there's ease of doing business, and that's a revenue stream for Kenya. But then when goods are coming in, the taxes that are going to be applied on those goods, for me, just using the layman's language, are basically what we call tariffs. But those are not going to be going away any time soon, even with EFTA or AFTA, because no, I think it's called AFICTA. Even with AFICTA, that's not going to go away anytime soon. It's just basically to encourage that as neighboring countries, we should be doing more business with each other. But then it is, okay, you apply tariff on this much, and we also apply tariff on this much. But there will be no scenario or situation whereby the issue of tariff goes away. So when you're venturing into business, you just need to know that cost of doing business includes taxes at local level, local country level, and internationally across borders, tariffs.
And still on cost of doing business, the non-tariff barriers are actually killing the regional trade. How do we eliminate them? And how do we make the business environment a little bit conducive for even the small scales, the MSMEs?
So to go back first on the tariffs issue, so it should not be eliminated per se, but like if you're saying in the East African region we have the common tariffs, it's sometimes not common. The idea is if you're paying 60% for product X in Kenya, then for it to be competitive in Uganda, it should also just be 60%.
Apologies, I'm informed that we're having issues with your microphone, but I'm going to be checked in as much. So maybe Mark, you can pick up that question, Doc, and tell us what are some of the ways that we can ensure that there is a conducive business
to handle that question.
No. You're also in the
IT.
business sector. My question is, how do we make ease of doing business in Kenya?
Troy, there is an area of business that is growing, and it's growing big. That is the creatives. Okay, that is the creative industry. It is growing and growing big. Is my mic also a problem?
Yeah, yeah. No, yours is okay. Yours is okay.
It's growing and growing big.
The creative industry.
Creative industry. And so come to my Facebook page. You'll find about 51,000 people who are on there. I think Kenyans are maybe about 50% of that. The rest of them are from other countries. Okay, so if I was to do business with them, they would call me for consultancies. If I can post something, hey, you know, I'm an AI expert. We're basically building mini models. Somebody's going to reach out to me and say, hey, you know what, can you do this for me? Just taking that assignment alone, I can do a product for them, spin it out, post it to them. Whether there is tariffs or not, the situation is going to arise when they now have to actually pay me for the service. Do I want to be paid here in Kenya? Yes. I want my money to come here in Kenya, which means that I'm going to have to actually raise an invoice to that person. Because if there is no that trail, then money can come to my account, and you just know those friends of Daisy, KRA, will start sniffing around and wondering. So you're still going to get caught. But I think the challenge is that then how do you apply a tariff on that, or how do you apply whatever sort of applicable taxes on that kind of a service that I offer. So yes, the answer to your question is that, you know, tariffs are still going to actually impact our business one way or the other. But I see that they're here to stay, and any effort to actually try and remove them will never happen.
All right.
At least not in my lifetime, and I don't think I have too many years left. Okay. I'm 51 now.
Daisy.
Maybe for Daisy and you.
How do we non-tariff barriers, just like you said, it's not quite elimination, but for the East African region, because I'm also looking at how we can ensure that in as much as we are in COMESA, we are in Africa Free Trade Area, we want to keep it at home as well. And the ease of doing business in Kenya, because it's something that always crops up when somebody wants to do business, especially for the small and micro, somebody who has not established himself quite well. So
they're not actually, because the tariff barriers, so your taxes, somehow we have accepted and said they're not going anywhere. Yeah. So the issue of the non-tariff barriers, and one of them, actually the one that I interact with a lot, is on product conformity and conformity assessment. So how is the customer able to do business in Kenya, and yet their product does not meet, for example, what is required in Kenya? So I would honestly think that at some point there's SMEs and everybody else has to be involved for it to stop being a problem of the other people, because that's the issue that I see a lot. Everybody thinks it's everybody else's problem until it becomes your problem. So you have found this nice water that you saw it when you went to Fiji, and now you want to bring it here, and then you realize your water cannot be sold. Yeah. But all along it was not your problem until you want to sell that water here. So one of the biggest ways to maybe eliminate the non-tariff barrier is to have the small players also just take part in the policy development and to be part of the decision makers. And I really try and sing this song to the partners that I work with, that let you get involved in policy making. So if you want your nice water to be sold in Kenya, be the person who's going out there to the policy maker and say, I want this specific water to be sold in the country. So it stops being someone else's problem, it stops being the government problem, it becomes the trader's problem. All
right. Yeah. Mark, I'm informed that we are running out of time. I would like to pick your mind on your final comments in regards of how we facilitate trade in the country and make it easy for even those who are starting out.
It is the original question that you started with. I mean, let us just basically digitalize to the extent that we can. adapt to emerging technologies. That's going to basically ease trade and be able to promote business growth. And so for me, number one is technology, number two is technology, number three, unfortunately, is technology.